Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news. And have we got a bit of a cracker for you tonight as Jurgen Klopp, former Liverpool manager, absolutely slams Ten Hag out of order. You know, some people piled onto Souness the other day when he was actually talking sense. Well, I think I've got my mic wrong here. Let me get that down a bit. When he was actually talking sense, we've got talking nonsense from Jurgen Klopp. Retired or not, respected or not, he's talking out of his arse. We'll also be talking about a big Ineos summer transfer regret. It's something we've mentioned on this show quite a lot across the summer, but it's come out again today, just how disappointed Ineos were not to get a certain signing. And what does that mean for the players that were left? Because this was a position we didn't replace at all this summer transfer window. And in fact, you could say we weakened in that position as well. We'll also be talking about this story. I know Beth was talking about it at 2 o'clock about Ten Hag's had a warning. I personally think it's bollocks, but we'll talk about that as well. And just a bit of toxic positivity reports. I mean, if they're not careful, they'll be in Prat of the Week. More toxic positivity. Instead of the Ten Hag outers, we're going in on the toxic positivity. I'm sure you've all seen them. They're as bad. They're as bad as the most toxic Ten Hag outers. And I'm not saying all Ten Hagers out are toxic. And I'm not saying all positive people are toxic. But the toxic positivity, it's just as bad. It's just as bad. But look, let's get into this. This is what Jurgen Klopp said. I'm not going to hang around on this. Get your comments in because I think this is bang out of order. So Jurgen Klopp, attending an evening with Jurgen Klopp, had this to say about Jadon Sancho and Erik Ten Hag. If the whole world loses trust and faith in the player, then the manager has to be the one behind the player. I cannot just buy into that he's useless stuff like other clubs did, by the way. Buying a player for 80 million and then sending him out on loan. So I think that the great thing about any opinion is that everyone's entitled to one. I also think the great thing about respected people in football is that everybody can talk shite, whether it be Roy Keane or Jurgen Klopp. And I massively respect Jurgen Klopp, and that coming from United fans, and I know many of you do as well, is a real, vindication of just how good a job he did when United fans can look at him and say, what an amazing job he did. I wish we could bring a manager in like that to United who could rebuild the club. But he's talking absolute arse here. And at a time when it's very popularist to pile on to Ten Hag and very easy to pile on to Ten Hag. I think also it's a bit like people piling on to Graham Souness the other day when he wasn't actually slating Kobe Mainoo. He was actually protecting and praising him. But people jumped on it. I think Jurgen Klopp here is jumping on Ten Hag completely unfairly. Slamming Erik Ten Hag for his treatment of Jadon Sancho. I mean, if you don't understand the situation, stay out of it. Reminds me of Jermaine Genius when we got that game against Liverpool cancelled and he sat there on Match of the Day saying, I don't know why Man United fans are complaining and protesting. The Glazers have spent loads of money at United. Yeah, shut up, Jermaine. You know what you're bloody on about. But if the whole world loses trust and faith in the player, then the manager has to be the one behind the player. Arse. Absolute arse. So Jurgen Klopp pontificating about his management style and passing it out to the rest of the world for them to do it. So if I'm a cider drinker and I give everybody a pint of cider, you should all drink it because Sir Goldbridge says that cider is the drink for everybody. Absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And look, Jurgen Klopp was a very successful manager. Did he ever fall out with a player? Don't know. Not 100% sure. Maybe somebody can tell me that. But just first of all, if the whole world loses trust and faith in the player, then the manager has to be the one behind the player. Yeah, okay. Cancelo, Man City, Pep Guardiola, 6 titles out of 7. Don't think that works with that one, does it? Manager kicks player out because he doesn't think he's good enough or disciplined enough. Yep. David Beckham at Manchester United, manager kicks player out because he thinks it's right to do it. Did the same with Roy Keane, did the same with Van Nistelrooy, did the same with Jaap Stam. I just think keep your nose out. I really do think keep your nose out. I find this quite irritating actually because I really do like Jurgen Klopp, which is hard to say as a Man United fan. But slamming Erik Ten Hag for his treatment of Jadon Sancho is absolutely incredible. Erik Ten Hag didn't pay £80 million for Jadon Sancho. Do you know how much Erik Ten Hag paid for Jadon Sancho, Jurgen? Nothing, because he didn't buy him. He inherited him. Much the same as you inherited players and let them go as well when you came to Liverpool. So, you know what? It was as simple as, I don't rate this player. But he didn't just do that. He didn't just walk into Man United like you walked into Liverpool and got rid of some big reputational players. He actually gave him a chance. He gave him so much of a chance that when Jurgen Klopp says, when the world loses trust and faith in the player, then the manager has to be the one behind the player. Pray tell me this, Jurgen, how many times in your career at the start of a season have you sent a player off to the Netherlands to recover from some sort of non-football related injury that was, rumoured to be mental health issues, and he gave him 4 months off? And the whole fan base supported him, and the whole club supported him, and Erik Ten Hag supported him. I don't remember any other manager doing that. So when we're talking about Jadon Sancho and Erik Ten Hag's treatment of him, I will not have Jurgen Klopp or any other manager coming at Erik Ten Hag and talking about him like he gave up on Jadon Sancho before he ever gave him a chance, and like he's the first manager to do it. Erik Ten Hag didn't sign Jadon Sancho. He gave him 4 months away for who knows what reason. Justifiably, I think we all backed it. He then brought him back, gave him another 3 or 4 months to, prove himself. Then took him on pre-season tour, gave him another chance at the start of the season, within which time there was numerous reported, even Matic said Sancho was late for training all the time. And then Jadon Sancho, with all that trust and support, decided to publicly out the manager because he'd been outed himself. So, nonsense. I'm absolutely not having it. It's a pile-on because it's easy to pile on to Ten Hag at the moment. But I think Jurgen Klopp is massively misguided on that one and would be better off keeping his mouth shut just because he's retired about things he doesn't actually understand, because the price doesn't come into it at all. And we certainly, as a football club and a manager, have and did support Jadon Sancho. And you cannot just sit there and say a manager must always stick behind a player, because that would be rewriting history. That has never, ever happened. Managers have got every right to decide that a player is not good enough for them. So I think Jurgen Klopp is absolutely bang out of order there. Shane says that Klopp, from Klopp, was in May. Mate, it doesn't matter whether it was in May. It doesn't matter whether it was bloody last year. It still stands. I just seen it today, and a load of people passed it out to me today. So it was in the Telegraph. It was in the ESPN. It's come out today. I'd be stunned if it was from May, but if it was from May, it's the first I've heard of it, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Kia says Sancho's situation is quite simple. If he succeeds at Chelsea, then we can have a conversation about how Ten Hag treated him. Until then, there's no argument. I don't think there is, mate. I don't think even if Sancho does well at Chelsea, we've treated him badly. Also, turn around, please, Mark. I'm almost Lewis. What are you talking about? McTominay was with the equaliser. Says Robert McCormack, I don't care about international football, mate. Emily Derry says, Klopp being a hypocrite here. No way he would have tolerated Sancho's antics if he was in Ten Hag's shoes. And Ashen, I don't know what you're talking about as well. Look, if you've got nothing to contribute, please go. I'm not up for nonsense. Hi, Mark. A little bird told me you were on Alex Goldberg playback this week. Does that mean United Stand playback debut is on the horizon? I'm not, so I don't know what that's all about. I've been asked to go on, but I keep telling Alex I'm very busy at the moment, and I've been asked to go on quite a few things recently and said no, so that is not true. So apologies about that. I'm trying to work through a mountain of stuff at the moment that's just accumulated over the summer. So no, I'm not. I won't be on that, unfortunately. So, yeah, look, I just wanted to get that off my chest, because I think that one thing we must always be is fair, and I don't think that is a fair comment to be out there. Now, whether it was from May or whether it came out today, I don't know, but I saw it today and I certainly thought it wasn't very fair. Now, we're going to talk about this story that came out about Ten Hag being under pressure because of his style of play in a moment, but what did catch my eye today, and I did want to come back to it because we spoke about it back in February, and we spoke about it multiple times over the summer as well, in relation to Michael Olise, and Ineos' big transfer regret over the summer was that he didn't sign Michael Olise. Now, let me just get what was said here, because it's coming from Sami Mukbel, who is a very good journalist actually, and he's put this out today. Manchester United were eager to sign Michael Olise, so eager that they were ready to enlist the help of Sir Alex Ferguson to help persuade the winger to join. Olise was set on Bayern, but United will be at the front of the queue if he decides to move in the future. I think this is a very interesting story. And obviously I know that the transfer window is closed, but I think that this just exposes a real a real story around what Manchester United wanted to do this summer. Now, I remember speaking to you about this quite a lot and how Manchester United, look, he really was, I think Branthwaite maybe too, but Michael Olise really was a high-profile target for Manchester United this summer. And they didn't get it done. And in some ways, I think that's really, really disappointing. But also, I think it's quite humbling in the sense that the job is big at Manchester United and not everything is going to go the way that you want it to go. You are going to have, and I think this is what Dan Ashworth was alluding to a couple of days ago. But what I find most interesting about this is not the vindication that, you know, Olise was and always was one of the major targets for Manchester United. I remember, you know, if you'd have said to me in March and April, who do you think Man United will sign or where do you think Michael Olise will end up? I would have said very, very, very high chance that he's going to end up at Manchester United. Obviously ended up at Bayern Munich and that was his preference. I mean, look, fair play. He obviously wanted to go to Bayern Munich. But I think the interesting thing for me is that if he was a high priority, and I would say it's hard to say how high a priority, but we didn't buy a right winger. We didn't buy a winger. No winger was bought into Manchester United to go straight into the first team like Olise. How would that have worked if he'd have chosen Man United? Would the money have been found? Would we have only bought one centre-back? Would we have bought Xerxes? I mean, we can all live in hindsight and you know, wonder what would have happened. But what would have happened is if Olise had chosen Man United, he'd be wearing a Man United shirt. Absolutely high priority, you know, number one choice for Manchester United. But then we didn't buy a winger. And that poses two questions. One, we've clearly left an area that we wanted to strengthen in, not strengthened. And two, what does that mean for those left behind? Because with if Michael Olise had come here, what happens to an Anthony, an Ahmad, a Rashford or a Garnacho? I mean, we know what's happened to Sancho. And I think it's, obviously there's regret there that we didn't get him. I personally think he would have been a very, very good signing for Manchester United, by the way. Don't know what you think. I think he would have been brilliant. But we didn't do it. And obviously you can understand Ineos's regret, but these things happen in a summer transfer window. But I think that if we had got him, I don't know who that would have been detrimental to. Maybe Ahmad. I think he would have obviously played off the right hand side. So maybe Ahmad would not be getting the game time he's going to get this season. I don't think Anthony's really high on the list at the moment anyway. So I think Ahmad probably would be the biggest loser if we'd got hold of Olise. But yeah, you're not going to get everything that you want, and but it doesn't. It doesn't do us any harm. It does do us harm, but it doesn't do us any harm to remind ourselves that that was a key target for Manchester United that we didn't get. And therefore, I still think that going forward, it's such an important season for those wingers that now get that opportunity, because it's certainly something that Manchester United, I think, will look at again. Just a bit of topical news, by the way. Tyrell Malacia has been included in Man United's 25 men's squad for this season's Europa League. I mean, at some point, you would hope that he's back playing football. I think Malacia is a really interesting one, by the way. I don't want to do a poll on it because it's very disrespectful, but the lad hasn't played football in nearly 18 months. I think there's a lot to be said about how quickly he's probably going to get injured again and how good he'll actually be and how much development he's missed. But he has been named in the squad, which is good news. So hopefully he will be back. What was this one here? This was what I wanted to talk about. Yeah, so look, let me talk about this next. I know Beth spoke about it this afternoon, but I haven't reacted to this at all. Eric Ten Hag's game model has to start impressing Manchester United's Ineos-led football department, or is in danger of being removed, with the manager's style of play so far this season viewed as underwhelming. Eric Ten Hag's game model, there is recognition inside the club that Ten Hag has been undermined by injuries and needs time to integrate his 5 summer signings, but also serious concern regarding how he sets up his side. Also, Ten Hag has to begin to show his team can dominate games and opponents or risk being sacked. I mean, I think this got a lot of people excited today. My sort of reaction to that is that, I mean, it's common sense. It's literally common sense. You lose 2 of your first 3 games of the season and something is not going right. I don't think it's really breaking news that Eric Ten Hag will have had some sort of conversation with Jason Wilcox over the last few days about what is going wrong, why are we not dominating games, why are we losing 2 out of our first 3 games, and how things have got to improve quickly. But the article itself alludes to what the answer is going to be from Eric Ten Hag. You know, I didn't want Casemiro. I dropped him for the FA Cup final. You removed Amrabat and you still haven't got Ugarte. So that is fundamentally a big problem when I've got a player that can't run the midfield. Secondly, some of these signings have come in late. De Ligt came in late. I'm only just getting him into the team. Ugarte is not here yet. Luke Shaw is injured. Mason Mount has got injured. Rasmus is injured. So I think that it doesn't move the needle for me. You know, Manchester United are underwhelmed by the start of the season. Well, whoop-de-doo. Slow Sports News. I mean, that's really surprising that Sir Jim and co are not happy with the start to the season. I'm not happy with the start to the season. You're not happy to the start to the season. They're not happy with they've been underwhelmed by the style of football. Well, yeah. High five. It's we're going to go for the hat trick here. Let me guess. There are probably mitigating reasons for it, but results have got to improve soon. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Completely agree. I don't think it moves the needle. I don't think it's breaking news. I don't think it's surprising. But the thing for me is, and what's lacking in that is, what's the time limit on this? Is the time limit going to be until Christmas? Is it going to be until the next international break? How bad does it have to get before they push the button? How inconsistent can we be before we let it run? They're the big questions, because we all know the solution to things being okay is that we start playing well and we start winning games. That's a boring road. It's the road I want to walk down, but it's a boring road. If United start playing well and winning, then none of these conversations about Ten Hag will continue. But what is the parameters of patience and pushing the button and sacking him? And I think that will be the interesting thing, because I don't predict that the next period between this international break and the next one is going to be smooth. I can see a couple of wins, but I can see at least another loss. Hopefully not 2, but certainly another draw. I think we'll win 2, draw 1 and lose 1. And I don't think that sends us into the next international break going, oh, everything's better. So I think the Premier League is very, very competitive, and we won't have everybody back firing for Southampton. We will still not have Luke Shaw. We will still not have Malacia. We will still not have Mason Mount. We don't know what the fitness level of Rasmus will be. So I think, how quickly will it take for Ugarte to settle in? What's the fitness going to be of everybody who's on international duty as well? So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting story in the sense that it states the bloody obvious. But, I mean, unless I see something really credible from somebody very credible that Ten Hag's got 4 months to save his job or 4 weeks to save his job, that's when I'd be interested. I mean, I don't feel, and I said this last night, I don't think it's breaking news when we hear that Ineos aren't happy and want to see a better brand of football. I don't think Ten Hag sat at home with a big pint of tea and a big box of biscuits, watching bloody The Rings of Power, because he probably does watch that, and dunking his biscuits, going, I love it. When are we going to see Gandalf? I love it. I love the international break. I think he'll be panicking. I'm going to lose my job. I think he will be like that. So why will he be doing that? Because he's thinking exactly the same as what Ineos is thinking, and I'm thinking, and you're thinking, and that is that, it's not been a very good start. We're starting to walk across that river that's not as thick ice as you think it is. It's thin ice. So, sorry, off topic, but what is the situation with Obi Martin? He's not a United player yet, is he, says Mark. He certainly will be. 10 biscuits Haag, says Dream. He certainly will be. United have a run of 4 easy-ish games before Spurs and Porto, so plenty of time to settle in. Players then judge him a bit with Spurs and Porto, says JWML. Could Bruno play CDM, says Keel. I don't think so. And Yusuf says, I've read your book and it was sensational. Don't forget, you can get the book, by the way. I'll put up the link for you in a bit. And what about when others lose trust and faith in a fellow manager? Is it right for other managers piling onto that manager, says Danny H? No, I think there should be an unwritten rule in management that, you respect each other. But look, I know it's a funny topic to lead on, and we don't normally get to lead on that sort of thing in the international break, but I thought it was bang out of order, if I'm being absolutely honest. I really, really did. Sorry, I didn't say this because I wanted to get the show up and running, but to the hardcore watching tonight, big up to thanks for watching, because I feel absolutely rubbish. My arms are aching, my back is aching, my legs are aching, my feet is aching, my head is aching. I don't know whether there's... if it had been 3 or 4 years ago, I'd have said it's COVID, but I'm not 100% by a long, long way. I'm looking forward to a hot bath and bed. I'll tell you what, if Mrs. Goldbridge was looking for something, she'd be, for the first time in her life, refused. The Goldbridge arms is shut, literally. I'm not sweaty, Mr. Darkseed. I'm just feeling very, very achy. Anyway, should have sacked Ten Hag and gotten Zidane, says Improvings. Rubbish comment, sorry. I'm a little bit achy, so I might be a little bit edgy, but rubbish comment. Zidane didn't want the Man United job, so I'm not going to praise a comment that was impossible. Absolutely. Oh, just a minute. I tell you what, Improvings, you've improved your comment by triggering something in my head here. Your comment's crap. Should have sacked Ten Hag and gotten Zidane. Oh, God. Read an absolute shit piece in the Manchester Evening News today. They're lucky I'm feeling a little bit dozy and I can't dozy and feeling a bit daisy. I said I'm not up for it, and I'm definitely not cheating on my wife. Daisy, get out. I'm feeling a bit drowsy, not dozy. I'm feeling a bit drowsy because I can't remember the name of the journalist, but oh my God. I read something today and I was like, leave it, Beth. Leave it for the 8 o'clock show. And I nearly forgot it. So there's an article today talking about Favel getting the extension as the, transfer guru around recruitment of younger players, etc., which I think is great. He's here till the end of January, and hopefully he'll be here beyond that. Used to be at Salzburg, part of that Red Bull group, the sort of pathway that Rangnick was on, Nagelsmann, etc. And I think this is a real positive for Manchester United. I think it'll be a real positive for Erik Ten Hag. I mean, at the end of the day, if Ashworth apparently gets on with Ten Hag really well. He's just starting to work with Barada and Wilcox. But if I was going to pick anybody that I thought was the best person for Ten Hag, I would say it's Favel, because look at Ajax. Look at the development of youth. Look at Ten Hag at Man United with Garnacho and Mainu. One thing about Ten Hag that I don't think you can criticise is that his faith in youth, his development of youth, and his braveness to throw youth in. So if you've got Favel, who's very good at finding youth that's ready to go, I think that's the big thing about Favel. Like when he took Haaland to Salzburg, it wasn't as a future player, it was a young player who goes straight into the team. And I think that's what Favel is very good at doing. So I think Favel and Ten Hag is a good fit. Anyway, in this article today, it wanders off-piste. I think they were pissed. Basically saying that this could be bad news for Ten Hag and it could lead to Man United getting Nagelsmann. I was like, what? How? What? It's a bit like saying Man United appointing Wilcox could lead to Alan Shearer being Man United's next manager because they won the Premier League together at Blackburn. Why you bloody... What? I'm just watching it going, oh my God, why don't you write the piece you want to write? Why don't you write Ten Hag's a load of shit, get the bold fraud out of the football club? But, hiding behind your dislike for Ten Hag by creating some story that Favel's from the Red Bull group and had some relationship with Nagelsmann, and therefore Favel staying at Man United for 6 more months means that Nagelsmann's coming to Man United. I was like, oh my God, there's stretching, but that would make Stretch Armstrong get a stiffy. Bloody hell, what's all that about? Absolute nonsense. I really don't think that is by any stretch of the imagination what's happening there. I really, really don't. I think that's just, as I said, it's just incredible. It's like Dan Ashworth coming in and going, oh, that's bad news for Ten Hag. Eddie Howe's going to be here by Christmas. Absolutely no. Absolutely not. Really, really, really think. Really, I was just like, I know it's the international break and they normally type shit anyway, but come on, that's just rubbish. Say what you really think. Stop trying to start conspiracies. Right, I think the new management structure will attract people like Zidane and Nagelsmann, says Don. And we are almost as last season so far, but with Yoro, Agate and Rasmus back, we'll start killing it. Hope Erik Ten Hag gets enough time, says Mr. Wilding. Anyway, I went off-piste a little bit myself there, but very good point from Improvings that sparked it. Reflecting on it, Casemiro's tendency to hold the ball too long creates midfield gaps. This delay allows fullbacks to advance before he passes. A quicker player would move the ball faster and reduce the gaps, as Abject. Well, I've got a video coming up on this, so we will talk about that in the future, but Casemiro doesn't suit that role at all. 900 for the GOAT. Blessed to see him play, says Talal. And yes, Ten Hag is struggling. It's be interesting with Ronaldo, actually, because the fact that he's still starting for Portugal surely suggests that he wants to play in the World Cup. The World Cup is in 2 years. He'll be in his 40s, and isn't he banned from the States? So, I mean, look, that's clearly the pathway. I said that in the Euros. What price Messi and Ronaldo's last ever tournament be in the World Cup? Will they be too old for it? I don't know. It looks like it's going to happen. Eric Ten Hag is struggling because of injuries, but he doesn't change his system to accommodate those injuries. He needs to be more flexible and realise this, as Siraj. And yet, in the FA Cup final, he was very flexible, wasn't he? We are almost as last season so far, says Mr. Wilding. But with Yoro, Agate and Rasmus back, we'll start killing it. And Improving says, I do feel sorry for Ten Hag, but at the end of the day, we've been in limbo for years. And I feel after an organisation change, we can finally get a decent manager. Look, fine. It's fine. But all I can keep saying to those people who want another change is, we haven't got empty pockets. We haven't got bottomless pockets. We've got empty pockets. And we've spent a hell of a lot of money on project this season. It's a matter of when, not if, Ten Hag will be sacked. If he was any good, we would have seen the signs by now. Anyone who believes otherwise is delusional. I really don't want to have this conversation. I don't feel great. It's Thursday night and we're still people are doing Ten Hag in, Ten Hag out. Tell me what you think. Bring it. And I'm like, are you that shit and thick at content that you're still having to talk about that? You know, we're still getting subliminals about Favel meaning Nagelsmann. We've had 4 days of it now. Can we just talk about something else, for God's sake? You want Ten Hag in. You want Ten Hag out. And I'm not just having a pop at the Ten Hag outers. There are positivity toxic morons doing it every bloody day. Oh, it's just this, it's just that. We've got to beat Southampton a week on Saturday. You can moan one way or the other. We've got to beat Southampton a week on Saturday. If we play shit and lose, Ten Hag outers are going to quite rightly go absolutely shit. And if we beat Southampton and we do really, really well, then the toxic Ten Hag positivity people will say we're going to win the league. And the rest of us will go, that's a good first step. Absolutely. I'm not doing a Nagelsmann versus Ten Hag poll because Nagelsmann is not going to be leaving Germany anytime soon. I've just heard he's leaving Germany. On Olise, says Phil and James Reed, who would we not have signed because United are skint? Well, I think that would have been very interesting and I can't even guess who that would be. FIFA Crazy says, I lost my uncle to cancer. Watching is cheering me up. Thanks for all you do, says FIFA Crazy. Really sad to hear that, mate. And look, like many people say, this community... beyond me, just the community in general, you lot in the chat, it brings so much joy and comfort and community feel to so many. So I'm glad that you can have some escapism, FIFA Crazy, and enjoy the show. Thank you very much for that. Just from one controversial thing to another, I'm bored to tears of the Ten Hag in out debate because I can't add anything to it. You know what? That's why I'm bored of it. Because I can't actually, you may as well stick UK got. In fact, you may as well go back to Monday Night Show and play that back, and I'll record it and throw it in here. I can't add anything to the Ten Hag in out debate. I don't even know why people are still talking about it. How do you have another debate? I mean, talk shit are probably doing it every hour of every day, but how many more times can you say the same thing? Like no one's gonna suddenly go, hey, hi, I'm Mr. Ten Hag in, and wait for this. Pass me a mic to drop. Did you know? And I can't even say what they would say because I don't know what they would say, but they come out with something really deep and interesting about why we should stick with Ten Hag, and they drop the mic and we all go, wow. And then an angry Ten Hag out comes in, oh, shut up, you bloody twat, knobhead. Did you know this? And we all go, oh, nobody's going to bring anything new to this conversation. It's where you sit where you sit. You take your seat. Well done. But what we can talk about is, I don't know how to word this because I do like the person who wrote the article. I thought it was an interesting article. Actually, I'm just going to say it. And if you read it, you read it. And if you didn't, you didn't. And I'm not going to draw attention to it because some people might jump on that account and give him a load of shit. Some people might give him some positivity and praise, but I'm not going to risk them getting trolled or anything like that, because I like them and I like what they do. But there was an article today about Marcus Rashford, and it was basically saying that the way to get Rashford playing well is for all fans to get behind him and give him positivity and support. And it was a very mixed reply section. There were people saying yes, yes, and it's people like Goldbridge and everybody who are causing the problems, which just make me laugh. They make me laugh. I mean, apparently, well, you know, I don't go to games, so I wasn't one of the people booing the fact that Rashford didn't get subbed at the weekend, and absolutely not is it me, because as people will know, watch this channel, you know, I've stuck up for Rashford many times before this year. But there was a lot of people saying, no, this is stupid. He's not playing well. You can't just keep praising and supporting a player that's had this long and gets paid that much and is playing this bad. And it set off quite an interesting debate. You know what I thought? I'll bring this into the United Stand tonight. You know, do you agree with that? Do you agree that the way back for Rashford is for everybody to just hold hands and say, come on, Marcus, we're right behind you. Let's do it. Because I think, you know, it might work. You know, if that was going to work, let's do it. You're telling me that you wouldn't, if I said to you right now, I know for a fact, somebody's told me, don't know who, because not necessarily religious, but somebody's told me that if we all hold hands, don't actually have to hold hands, but if we all just sit here or stand here and say, Marcus has our support, he will start playing well. I would defy and call out anybody that wouldn't do that. Why wouldn't you do that? Absolutely, we would do that. But will it work? Will it work? And is it deserved over, are we going to do that for Anthony? Are we going to do that for Casemiro? Are we going to do it for Victor Lindelof? Are we going to do it for Luke Shaw? Are we going to do it for Harry Maguire? You know, are we going to do it for Christian Eriksen? Or are they players that they can piss off and get out? You know, why would you treat one player different to everybody else? I mean, I saw an ex-player today ranting about Anthony, saying he's an absolute shambles, shouldn't be at Man United, he needs kicking out. And I thought, you're never going to say that about a British passport player playing for Man United, are you? So why is it we always have to keep giving British passport players, you know, this chance after chance after support after support after support? I'm up for it if we're going to do it for everybody. And I think that will never happen. And I think that's when the naivety it probably comes crashing down. I think that players end up getting criticised in the main because they haven't delivered in a shirt, and many other people in the past have set standards in that shirt, and you have to live up to those standards. If you can't live up to the standards, then you shouldn't be wearing the shirt. That's my interpretation of it after years and years and years of watching football. If you're being criticised, it's because there is a standard. It's not like fans are watching somebody for the first time wear a Man United shirt and see them play badly and go, I'm not giving you a chance. You know, we've got a very rich repertoire of history, of standards, and when people don't meet those standards, they tend to get criticised, and when they consistently don't meet those standards, they tend to get criticised even more. I don't think it's in football's nature inherently to go, we know you've been shit for ages, but you know what? Let's just give him another chance. Let's give him as much support as we can, because that might work. Because ultimately these people are professionals and they need to have it in themselves to deal with criticism. Because if they can't deal with criticism, what are they going to do when they go to Anfield and they get booed and called shit? They're not going to be able to hear the United fans. So I think that it's an interesting concept, but it's flawed in the sense that I suppose I would question, why does one player get treated like that then? Why is it one player that we've all got to get behind? I would say, okay, let's do it, but let's also do it for Anthony as well. And I guarantee you, some of the people that want to do it for that player won't do it for that player. And there, end of the lesson, because that's where you end back up at Player FC, because that's all I think it is. Fundamentally, I think it's Player FC. I think there is a high desire for this particular player to start playing well. But if I say it about Casemiro, let's everybody get behind Casemiro, there will be some people who go, no fucking way. Overpaid, can't be arsed, cost us the game against Liverpool. Well, let's do it for Anthony. No, fidget spinning twat. No, I'm not going to do it for him as well. So I think that I've got no problem supporting Man United players when they play well. I've got no problem if we're all going to get behind everybody and give it a chance. But you know that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen at all. I'd do it. I'd do it for the next 3 games. If everybody's going to get behind every single player for the next 3 games, let's all do it. But everybody's got to do it. You can't just do it for one player. You can't guilt trip everybody to just do it for one player, but we won't do it for others. That's victimization. So, yeah, look, interesting piece. Very interesting piece to bring into something like this, but fundamentally flawed, I would say, because it's unrealistic. We live in a democracy as well. Everybody's entitled to opinion, and football is one of the last areas of society where it's still okay to have an opinion and have a strong opinion. And you can't dictate to people what they have to think and what they have to do. And also, you know what? I think when you look at people like Anthony, he's had his say many times through statements, etc. Casemiro has had his say. We've seen his trophies on Monday. Bruno has had his say after the loss on Sunday, where he said, don't individualise it. You know, we're a collective, we're in it together. And I'm trying to think of... Well, Rashford had his say in April, didn't he? He did that interview. Very badly timed interview, but he did that interview where he said... what was it he said? I can't remember what he... I think it was April. What did he say? Doubt me at your peril or something. I can't remember what he said. I wonder if I can find it, because I don't want to be misquoted on this, because actually it could be very relevant to what was said. Oh no, this is what he said. If you back me, good. If you doubt me, even better. So, in the words of the player himself, I suppose that's... I probably should have read that before I started this conversation, really, because in the words of the player himself, yeah, if you back me, that's great, but if you doubt me, better. So I don't think Rashford actually needs everybody getting behind him, because by the sounds of it, if he likes it, but if you doubt him, even better. He's even more motivated, which is what most footballers tend to be. I remember Paul Pogba doing an interview about this where he said, I'm my own biggest critic. It doesn't matter what anybody says to me. And Pogba certainly had critics. He said, genuinely, I don't really care, because if I've had a bad game, I already know it. Ronaldo, motivated by the critics. A lot of people, not just in football, a lot of successful people in life are motivated by critics. It's the easiest fuel to put on the fire. And some people actually find it harder to perform when everyone's telling them how great they are. Some people are genuinely better being on the edge of criticism all the time with a point to prove. So in Rashford's words himself, he was, if you doubt him, even better. So actually, if you are doubting him, he says that's even better as a motivator. I don't think in the case of Casemiro, everybody getting behind Casemiro is going to make him play well. I don't think everybody getting behind Anthony is going to make him play well. I don't think everybody getting behind Marcus Rashford's going to make him play well, because I think all three have bigger issues than that. I think Casemiro's struggling with age. I think he's actually declining as a player. I think Anthony is struggling with the step up from the Eredivisie to the Premier League. I think the pace of it, he's not adapted to it yet. And I think Marcus Rashford is struggling with ability not matching expectation. And I haven't really figured it out. And it's too sensitive a topic to discuss, because people will pile in, quite rightly. You know, he has a fan club and they will jump in and go, hater, hater. But that's why I mentioned 3 players. I think with, all 3 are not performing to the level we need them to. Casemiro is on 350k a week and used to be one of the best holding midfielders in the world, and that's what we bought. Anthony cost us £80 million and was a young Brazilian winger that was meant to be a lot better than he is. And Marcus Rashford is a poster boy player on big wages who is only 26 and is meant to be in his prime. So as I said, I think with Anthony, he just hasn't stepped up to the Premier League. That's the bottom line. So it's an ability issue with Anthony. I mean, I hope he can improve, but, you know, let's call a spade a spade. Let's be absolutely blunt here. Why is Antony not playing well for Man United? It's because he's never played well for Manchester United consistently, because there is a problem in stepping up from the league he was in into this league, and we've seen it before. We've seen it with Donny van der Beek. So I think Antony, it's an ability issue at the moment. As I said, with Casemiro, I think it's a drop-off issue. And we've seen what he was like in the first year, and we've seen what he's like now. It's clearly mistiming tackles, misplacing passes, you know, speed across the ground. So that's a declining issue. For Marcus Rashford, I think it's much, much more difficult to pin. I mean, I would welcome intelligent and fair analysis in the chat, whether you're watching live or not. But for Rashford, it's not what Antony's got. It's not a talent issue, because he's proven it. You know, he's been that hot. European clubs and Premier League clubs haven't been able to deal with him. For 2 seasons, that happened. It's certainly not an age issue, because he's 26. So I struggle to see what it is that's causing Rashford's thing. Has he fell out of love with football? That's too dramatic. You know, this is not Hollywood. You know, it's a bit like Top Gun, isn't it? When, you know, he's there at the end and he just disengages and he's in his bloody, and they said boat, flying boat. He's in his flying fighter jet, and Iceman's got bloody people all over him. He's like, get back in, Maverick. And he's like, oh, it's no good. And then suddenly the music kicks in and he's like, I'm coming back. And he's, you know, I don't think that's Rashford. I don't think Rashford's going to do some Top Gun Maverick moment where he suddenly, you know, the music kicks in and he's back in love with football. I don't think it's that. I don't know what it is. Some people think it's a loss of pace. I don't really genuinely believe you can do that at 26. The only thing I would say, and we've mentioned it a couple of times, and it's a great topic when you do it fairly, instead of just coming out with trashford and toxicity and or even toxic positivity, because there'll be player FC and all that. The only thing I would say is, and it's always resonated with me, and I think it's resonated with a lot of you as well, is that Robin van Persie did say the back injury that Marcus Rashford had psychologically was always a problem afterwards, because it's not a normal footballer's injury and it can psychologically bother you. But the timings don't work with that, because Rashford did that back injury and then had that period at the start of Ten Hag's first year all the way through to the Carabao Cup, and he'd already had the back injury. I'm pretty sure about that. So I don't think it can be that. A lot of people say it's the back injury, but it can't be, because he already had that injury and he did really, really well. He was on bloody fire. He was sharp. He was scoring goals. I've seen a lot of people putting the clips out this week, actually, and it's like night and day. You know, you're watching him at his best and you're like, fucking hell. I think there is an aspect of players have figured him out. I've said that before. I think if you double him up and let him shoot from distance, goalkeepers are alive to it. You think some of the goals he scored, you know, that Arsenal one against Ramsdale, I think if you're playing against Rashford now as a goalkeeper, he's not going to catch you out as much as he may be used to. I think players know to double up on him, but people know to double up on Mo Salah. People know that Haaland's quick and good in the box. The top players, they do figure a way around. I'm yet to see anyone in this chat or in the mainstream or anywhere identify the issue. And I think the problem with Rashford is nobody can. Nobody can. Whether it's Van Nistelrooy, Ten Hag, Barada, Brailsford, Rashford himself, I don't think anybody can focus and find the issue with him. Because there is one, but I think if we knew it, we'd probably have solved it by now. But as I said, Victor Lindelof just doesn't suit the way we want to play, is not a top 6 centre-back. Casemiro is ageing. Antony has not proven that he's good enough for the Premier League. There are other players. Mount is injury-prone. Luke Shaw is injury-prone. Every problem player in that United squad, we can all... Onana, not a very good shot stopper, and we're not utilising his best skills as a ball-playing goalkeeper. Every player, we know the issue. We might not be able to solve it. You can't make Antony good enough for the Premier League, but you can know he's not. I think that's his biggest issue at the moment. And some of these problems are not solvable. Can't make Onana a better shot stopper at the moment. But you can get us playing out from the back. That's a solution. How do you make Rashford better? Because he's always been a flair player. He's never been Mo Salah. He's never been Juan Mata. He's always been a flair player. He's always been a goal scorer, run at players, get in behind, pace. How do you solve that? And I don't know. I really don't know. I still believe that there will be a bounce back, but it's a long point. But my point is, we've tried everything. We've tried the support. We've tried the criticism. Have we benched him enough? He has been benched. Have we given him a run in the team? Just keep picking him and picking him. Well, Ten Hag's doing that at the moment. So we've absolutely tried everything. I remember this time last year, people were saying drop Rashford. And Ten Hag just stuck with him. And then eventually he did start dropping him. And then he brought him back and it still didn't solve him. And this season he's starting him again. And I don't know what the solution is. I really, really don't. And I still believe that the switch will get hit at some point. But it's a tough one. It really is. I think it looks like Rashford is mentally burnt out. Volume of games, pressure, personal issues could add up to a burnout, says Emily. But then, as I said, he said, back me, great. If you don't back me, even better. He had the summer off because he wasn't in the Euros. I don't think he's had an injury for a long time. He had a full pre-season. I don't think it's as easy as confidence, and I don't think it's valuable to keep saying it's about confidence and support, because I think we've tried everything. We have tried everything, but you've got to keep trying because he's not 32, he's 26. Evening, Mark. I think it's a case of these players are not that good, says Ryu. Rashford is a mix of mental and skill issues, in my opinion, says Improvings. I thought Anthony Martial was still here, says Improvings. And we need stronger mentality players. I think with Martinez, De Ligt, Agate, Rasmus, we've got a good solid spine with fighting them. A bit of passion is needed, says Scott Page. Anthony Martial is still at the club somehow. We need to offload these players. He's definitely not. It looks like Ineos have a 5-year plan, says Armand. All Ten Hag haters, foreign players haters, up yours as well, says Risick. And Kyle says, January of 2023, Shaw was mad at being used as a centre-back and not a left-back by Ten Hag. Ten Hag then dropped him for claiming he needed to rediscover his form after inexplicable injuries for club, not country. Thoughts, says Kyle. I don't know about that. I don't know how factual that is, Kyle. I remember Luke Shaw saying that he was rushed back in February and then he rushed himself back for England. Ineos need to kick out the loser culture players, is Improvings. And Aka says the PR has been absolute cringe. Sancho left City in 2017. Maresca. Oh, mate, I saw this. I mean, I don't know how true it is, but it's fine. So apparently Jadon Sancho, when he joined Chelsea, he said, I'm looking forward to playing with Maresca because we were together at City. And then somebody said that Sancho left City in 2017 and Maresca didn't join till 2020. Yet Sancho said he knew him at City. I mean, how can you get that wrong? And how that can't be right. Surely, that can't be right. Reject Mount, says Risick. I'm not saying I told you so in wanting Ten Hag to go, but I will say I told you so in wanting Ollie to stay. If he got the backing Ten Hag had, says Rash. Mate, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You are absolutely speaking to the wrong person. I will never, ever, 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 ever understand the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer revisionists. If you want to talk about what a legend Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is to Man United fans because of what he did as a player, we can talk all night. Gave me the best moment ever as a Man United fan. Nothing will ever top, and Solskjaer has won it. But as a manager and a coach, I think he's the worst for me. I think he's comfortably the worst. No, probably Moyes. But if somebody said to me, you can take any Man United managers back after Ten Hag, it would be probably Rangnick first. I genuinely think Rangnick is the best footballing coach we've had. Mourinho second, and I think I'd go with Van Gaal over Ollie, probably. So, yeah, I wouldn't... I've never understood the Solskjaer revisionists. I've never understood it at all. And yet, he's so good. And yet, since he's been sacked, nobody's given him a job. I don't understand it, but you're not in a minority, Rash. There are plenty of them around. I think Rashford honestly hasn't been used well ever since Mourinho, and he hasn't been able to get used to how much the game has changed, says Improvings. I'll tell you what, it would be interesting to see if Rashford had moved, or if you gave him to Pep for a year. Because if anyone was going to get the best out of Rashford, it would be someone like Pep. Give him to the best manager in the world and see what he could do. I think that would be interesting. But It's unrealistic, isn't it? I figured out Rashford out. It's not having Shaw. I think Curtis makes a great point there. You know, I do. I don't hear it enough. We do talk about it, but I don't hear it enough. I genuinely think a fit Luke Shaw is probably one of the only people that gets the best out of Marcus Rashford, which isn't necessarily a great reflection on Rashford, because great players should be able to work in multiple systems. But Luke Shaw is definitely better for Rashford. There's no doubt about it. Which some would say, well, that means Rashford's not as good as everyone thinks he is then, because he needs Luke Shaw with him. But I definitely think if we could get a fit Luke Shaw, it would help Marcus Rashford, because they do have a good relationship. Parker says, I've figured out the answer. Everyone has figured out that Rashford can only counter. He won't score again. It's over. He will. He will. I still think Rashford's got I mean, look at the goal against Man City last year. Look at the goal against Spurs. He's still a good finisher. If he gets chances, I still think he'll finish. Fans blame the space in the midfield for for Casemiro's performance against Liverpool, yet it hinders him to cover ground. But how does it stop him to pass the ball properly? Says SK. Look, going back to Casemiro, it's the inconsistency of his game. We saw it in pre-season. People were saying he's back. And I feel that Casemiro was this year's Sancho. When I look back to last season's pre-season, when Sancho was playing at 10, there was a lot of people saying, oh, Sancho's cooking, he's back. And I remember saying, he's never going to start for Man United as a number 10. When everybody's back, he won't start. So where will he play? And lo and behold, he didn't. And he wasn't cooking at all. The same thing happened with Casemiro. Casemiro's back. We're cooking. And I said, I don't think he's back. He's 32. He's on 350k a week. We've been trying to get rid of him and nobody will take him. And lo and behold, he's not back. I think the drop-off of Casemiro is that, you know, at his best, that inconsistency wasn't there. He's inconsistent in the tackle and he's inconsistent in the pass. He's so good that he'll make a good tackle. He'll make a world-class tackle and then he'll miss a better tackle. And he's so good that he'll make a brilliant pass and then he'll misplace a pass. And you can't deal with that inconsistency. It's the same as Luke Shaw. He's so good that when he plays, we've got one of the best left-backs in Europe, but he doesn't always play. And we've got a few too many players like that at United now, where if they're fit, we've got one of the best left-backs in the world, but they're never fit. And if he's playing well, we've got one of the best sixers in Europe, but it doesn't happen consistently. And you look at Arsenal, you look at Liverpool, you look at Aston Villa, you look at Man City. The core of their success is consistency. And that is the word that United need to find. And you're not going to find consistency with Luke Shaw, Casemiro, Mason Mount. And that will upset people. But at the moment, the solution is consistency. And we've got too many players that are inconsistent. And look, inconsistency can be performance. It can also be injury, mentality, whatever. And I think that's the problem that we have at the moment. Ron, telling me my audio is lower than normal, literally 55 minutes into the show, doesn't help because it was lower than normal. But apologies for that. Mark are on Friday, cannot stand England. Mark are on Friday, cannot stand England. Don't know what that's all about, UK airport news, but it's Thursday here. Jack says, thank you, Mark, for everything you do. Yourself and the community keep me going in the darkest year of my life. Come on, United, Jack. Well, big shout out to Jack. Hope you're doing well. And Deeb says, Rashford's been overused and burnt out. And Zion says, Rashford's legacy at United was already chiselled out before he was a proven star. All the talk about becoming all-time top scorer, the club let him down. Mark, we have proper players. Please use them, says Rizek. And in August 2020, Maguresca was hired by Man City as manager of their elite development squad. Says, give it to Mikey. So what's Jadon Sancho being... How's he even been allowed to get away with that then? Because I saw it on a tweet. If a Man United player... if a Man United player signed for, if we signed somebody like, I don't know, trying to think, if Man United signed a player from Ajax, right, and they said, yeah, I'm really happy to be here with Ten Hag. We worked together in 2015 when Ten Hag wasn't there. It'd be front page news. How has Sancho been let off with that absolute clanger? Yeah, I can't wait to work with the Chelsea manager. We were together at Man City. You weren't even close, mate. 3 years. 3 years between you leaving and him coming to Man City. Unbelievable. Harry says, love the updates, Mark. In my opinion, Rashford needs his mates to turn up. Not sure, says Harry C. Thank you very much for that. Rashford, kids, rest legacy. Okay. Marquitos says, that's the difference between good and world-class players. Good players rely on those around them to get the best out of them. World-class players will elevate the players around them, says Marquitos. Yeah, world-class players. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. Look, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. Really appreciate it. Mark, are you on Friday? Cannot stand watching England. I am on Friday tomorrow, but England aren't playing till Saturday as far as I remember, because I am looking to do a watch along for that. But let me just double check. You know, England are playing at 5 o'clock on Saturday. That'll be on That's Football. I'll be doing that. So yes, we have got the Friday night show tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be fighting fit to be able to have a drink with you, good people. Definitely. Thanks very much for tonight. I'm struggling a bit. And I'm just going to go and get some rest now. But thank you very much for being here. Absolute legends, especially during the international break, because I think we get proper good conversation during the international break. Some people disappear for a little bit. But thank you very much for tuning in. Harry's a bit drunk, apparently. Well done. I couldn't think of anything worse at the moment, but there we go. Enjoy it while you can. And I will speak to you very soon. I feel there was something else I wanted to say, but I will try and remember it for the morning show. But there was something else I wanted to say and I've completely forgotten it. Oh well. Cracking show tonight. Take care, everybody. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Take care. Stay safe.